In 1917, two young cousins in a village in Yorkshire walked into the woods with a camera and came back with proof of fairies. At least, that's what a lot of people believed. The photos showed tiny winged figures dancing near a stream behind their house. And somehow, these little paper-looking fairies, because yes, they were eventually revealed to be cutouts held up with hat pins, managed to fool actual adults. Important adults. One including Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the very man who created Sherlock Holmes, possibly the most famous fictional detective in history. Which is almost too ironically perfect, how the man who built a character based on logic and deduction looked at two girls in the forest with fairy photos and thought, yeah, that checks out. But the Cottingley fairies weren't just about fairies. They were about what happens when humans stare into nature, especially the woods, and feel like something's looking back. For thousands of years, forests have been filled with things humans couldn't quite prove, but couldn't quite stop imagining either. Bigfoot, werewolves, skinwalkers, forest spirits, creatures that live just beyond the firelight, just past the village, just outside the edge of what we understand. And the strange thing is, these stories keep appearing in different cultures, in different time periods, in different forests, long before the internet could turn every shadow into a Reddit thread. But for most of human history, the forest wasn't this relaxing place we could go to. It wasn't a trail. It was not a peaceful escape with a tent and a matching set of Yeti accessories. It was food, medicine, darkness, predators. The woods were useful, but they were also very dangerous and uncertain. And uncertainty is where our brain gets creative. Our brains are pattern recognition machines, which brings me to this phenomena called pareidolia. Pareidolia is the psychological tendency to perceive meaningful shapes, patterns, or faces in random or ambiguous stimuli, which is basically your brain saying, I don't know what that is, so just to be safe, let's give it a face. And honestly, from an evolutionary perspective, it makes sense. If you mistake a tree stump for a predator, you feel silly for a minute. If you mistake a predator for a tree stump, you may not get a minute. The evolutionary instinct is to assume that an event or sound was caused by a conscious agent like a predator or person, rather than a natural, random force. This is called agency detection bias. A rustle in the bushes isn't just wind. It could be something, someone, a thing with a motive. That bias may have helped keep our ancestors alive. The human brain would rather overreact than underreact, especially in places like a creepy forest. Forests are basically the perfect environment for that kind of thinking. They block your view, they distort sound, they create layers of shadow, they make distance hard to judge. Something can be 10 feet away and completely hidden. So when humans used to enter the woods, they weren't just walking through nature, they were walking through uncertainty. And uncertainty loves a good story. This may be why so many forest monsters share similar traits. They're tall, half human or animal hybrids. They're fast. They imitate voices. They lure people away. They punish those who wander too far. The details change depending on the culture, but the emotional shape stays strangely familiar. The creatures represent the boundary between the known world and the unknown one. In Europe, forests were often places of witches, wolves, and fairy creatures. In North America, stories of Sasquatch or Bigfoot describe a large, human-like figure living beyond ordinary human reach. In many indigenous traditions, stories tied to the woods are deeply specific to place, culture, and warning, and should not be flattened into scary monster stories. But broadly speaking, forests have often been imagined as places where the normal rules weaken. And that's important, because monsters are rarely just random. They usually guard a lesson. Don't go too far. Don't travel alone. Don't disrespect the land. Don't ignore sounds in the dark. Don't trust everything and everyone. Before written warning signs, humans had stories. A scary creature in the woods may have been a way to tell children not to wander off. A tale about a creature near the river may have kept people away from dangerous water. A spirit in a forbidden part of the forest may have protected sacred land. The story survived because the danger was real, even if the creature may not be. But that's why it's interesting, because a monster doesn't need to exist to be psychologically useful. It can shape behavior. It can create caution. It can give fear a map. In a way, urban legends are emotional technology. They take something vague, like the forest is dangerous at night, and turn it into something memorable, like there's something in there, and it knows your name. But here's why we still believe those stories. The forest is one of the last places where the modern human can still feel ancient. Most of us live surrounded by lights, roads, locks, phones, GPS, and the quiet confidence that someone probably knows where we are. But step into the woods at night, and a lot of that disappears. Suddenly, you're not a modern person with Wi-Fi and opinions. You're a mammal with soft skin, mediocre night vision, and a very dramatic nervous system. Your brain starts running older software. Every sound matters. Every movement matters. The dark stops being empty and starts feeling full. And that feeling is older than language. And this is probably why forest horror movies work so well. It doesn't need much. A creepy setting, a missing person, someone saying, "Did you hear that?" Ruh-roh. The woods create instant vulnerability because it removes control. And the human brain hates not knowing, so it fills in the gaps. Sometimes with animals, sometimes with people, sometimes with something that's almost human, but not quite enough. That almost human part is especially important because a lot of forest creatures aren't completely alien. They're human-like. They walk upright. They unknowingly watch us. That makes them unsettling because they sit in the uncanny valley. The psychological discomfort we feel when something resembles a human but not quite enough. A bear is scary. A wolf is scary. But a tall human-shaped thing standing still between the trees activates a different part of the brain because it suggests intention, awareness, that the thing in the woods is not just dangerous, it noticed you. And maybe that's the real core of the monster in the woods stories. It's not only fear of nature, but it's fear of being observed by the unknown. And humans are deeply social creatures. We are built to track eyes, faces, motives, and threats from other beings. So when we enter a place where we feel unseen, our brain flips the feeling around. We may not see anything, but something might see us. That idea shows up everywhere since the dawn of time because it touches something universal. The fear of the dark, the fear of isolation, the fear of being hunted, the fear that the world is bigger, older, and less controlled than we like to admit. The woods remind us that civilization is thin. A few steps off the trail, and suddenly the world is no longer ours. And that's likely why eerie creatures keep appearing in the woods. Not because forests are full of creatures waiting to be discovered, well, they could be, but because a monster is a shape we can give to uncertainty. It's the face we can put on darkness so that we have something to point our fear at. But honestly, yes, the brain has an incredibly vivid imagination that is constantly trying to keep us safe, but also, I live rural, in the forest, in Canada, aka Wendigo country, literally the setting of Until Dawn, and I believe heavily enough in the paranormal that once the sun goes down, I am no longer available to nature. I support the forest emotionally, from inside, behind a locked door. So yes, maybe the creatures are just pattern recognition, maybe it's pareidolia, maybe it's the brain projecting fear onto darkness because uncertainty makes us uncomfortable. But am I going to go outside after dark to prove that? Absolutely not. That business is between the woods and whatever those disembodied voices are coming from. Rationality is overrated. Liked what your weird brain just learned? Hit subscribe. If not, that's okay. I'm sure the creature in the woods appreciates your confidence.